In the quiet cold of an Alaskan winter night, the sky was suddenly split by a blaze of unnatural light. Mike, now living a quieter life after his Air Force days, was outside his cabin when he witnessed it. A burning object streaked across the heavens, its trail of fire cutting through the stars before it crashed into the frozen forest a few miles away. Mike's instincts kick in. Without a second thought, Mike grabbed his heavy coat and emergency kit. His instincts as a pilot kicked in. Someone might need help, and he might be the only chance they had. His truck rumbled to life, old but reliable, and he headed toward the crash site, guided by the fiery glow against the night sky. The wreckage in the forest. Reaching the vicinity of the crash, Mike parked his truck behind a thick copse of trees and proceeded on foot. The air smelled of burnt metal and ozone, a clear sign that whatever had come down was no ordinary meteorite or satellite. As he approached, he saw the wreckage of what was unmistakably an alien spacecraft embedded in the ice and snow. Discovery of the alien girl. Carefully, Mike climbed over the twisted metal. The hull of the spacecraft was torn open, exposing a flickering interior lit by panels of alien symbols and dim lights. Inside, he found chaos, wires sparking and the remnants of what looked like control panels strewn about. Then he heard a faint moaning from beneath a collapsed panel. He moved toward the sound, pushing aside debris, and found an alien girl. Her skin shimmered like the aurora in the sky above, hues shifting subtly. She was clearly injured, struggling to breathe. Mike's rescue mission. "Hang on, I'm here to help you," Mike said gently, as if she could understand him. He carefully lifted the panel off her, assessing her injuries. She had a deep gash on her leg and appeared to have multiple bruises, but no injuries seemed immediately life-threatening. Using his emergency kit, he bandaged her leg as best he could and helped her into a sitting position. Her eyes flickered open, glowing softly with a light blue hue, focusing with visible effort on Mike. Back to the cabin. Understanding or not, she seemed to sense his intent to help, her body relaxing slightly. Mike supported her as they moved slowly back to his truck. He laid her down in the back seat, covering her with blankets to ward off the freezing temperatures. As he drove back to his cabin, Mike's mind raced. He knew he should report this to his former contacts in the military, but something held him back. She was clearly vulnerable and alone. For now, at least until he understood more, he would keep her safe and hidden. Building trust. Settling in. Back at his cabin, Mike helped the alien girl inside and settled her on a makeshift bed. He wondered about the repercussions of his decision. Whatever came next, he knew his life had changed forever tonight. He looked at the alien girl, her chest rising and falling evenly now, and felt a resolve strengthen within him. He would protect her no matter what. Recovery begins. Inside the warmth of Mike's cabin, Laura, the alien girl, gradually regained her strength. The harsh Alaskan winter howled outside, but the sturdy walls kept the cold at bay. Over the next few days, Mike observed Laura's recovery, noting her resilience despite her injuries. He used his old tablet to document her symptoms and recovery, thinking it might help in understanding her biology. Communication challenges. Laura, in turn, was slowly adapting to her new environment. Her initial wariness gave way to a cautious curiosity about Mike and his world. Despite the language barrier, they began to communicate through gestures and expressions. Mike learned that Laura could understand some English, though speaking it seemed beyond her capability. Sharing knowledge. One evening, as the aurora borealis danced across the sky, Laura pointed at it, then at herself. Mike nodded, realizing she was trying to tell him she was from somewhere in the cosmos where such lights were common. He showed her a map of the galaxy on his computer, and she pointed excitedly to a remote sector, her fingers tracing paths between stars, her home clearly far beyond human reach. A message home. Realizing the gravity of her situation, Mike knew Laura needed more than just medical help. She needed to get a message home. He rigged up an old radio transmitter, hoping it might catch some frequency her people used. Laura watched intently, her bright eyes analyzing every move he made, occasionally guiding his hands with a gentle touch to make adjustments beyond his understanding. Breaking through the static. The cabin was filled with the crackle of static as knights passed with them huddled around the equipment, tweaking and turning dials. Finally, a series of sharp beeps broke through the noise. Laura's face lit up with a mix of joy and relief. She quickly responded with a complex series of tones. After a tense wait, the machine crackled back to life, and a voice, melodic and alien, filled the room, speaking in her tongue. Laura conversed rapidly, her voice a mix of urgency and excitement. Mike watched, understanding none of the words but feeling the weight of the moment. The truth revealed. When the conversation ended, Laura turned to him, her expression somber. She sketched quick, vivid pictures of her planet, Valoria, and of people, her people caught in what looked like a battle. She pointed to herself, then to the images, making it clear she was a key figure in whatever conflict was unfolding. It dawned on Mike that Laura was not just an alien. She was a political refugee, perhaps even royalty, on the run from forces that wanted her captured or dead. The responsibility weighed heavily on him, but his decision to help her felt more right than ever. The pursuit. Preparing to move. As Laura's strength returned, so did her concern for their safety. The news of the alien craft's crash had not gone unnoticed, and it was only a matter of time before curiosity or hostility drew unwanted visitors to Mike's doorstep. They needed to move, and soon. Heading to a new hideout. Early one morning, as the first light of dawn crept across the snowy landscape, Mike loaded his truck with supplies. Laura, now able to walk with some assistance, followed him closely, her senses sharp to any sign of danger. Mike decided they would head deeper into the wilderness to an old hunter's cabin he knew about. It was isolated, off the grid, and would offer them a temporary haven. The chase begins. As they drove through the winding forest roads, Laura's anxiety was palpable. She kept her eyes fixed on the mirrors, watching for any sign of pursuit. Her fears were not unfounded. A sleek, dark vehicle, out of place in the rugged terrain, appeared behind them. It was clear they were being followed. Mike pushed his old truck as fast as it could go, but it was no match for their pursuers' modern technology. A narrow escape. Realizing they couldn't outrun them, Mike took a sharp turn down a less traveled path, hoping to lose them in the dense forest. The chase intensified, with the pursuer matching every move Mike made. Just as the situation seemed desperate, Laura pointed to a narrow pass between two cliffs. It was a risk. The pass was barely wide enough for the truck, but it was their only chance. Mike steered the truck towards the pass, branches scraping the sides of the vehicle as they squeezed through. The pursuer hesitated, giving them a few crucial moments to widen the gap. Finding safety. Emerging from the pass, they found themselves in a secluded area with thick underbrush. Mike drove the truck into a copse of trees, covering it with branches and leaves for camouflage. They continued on foot, Laura leading the way with surprising agility given her recent recovery. Hours later, they arrived at the hunter's cabin. It was rustic and bare, but it provided the cover and security they needed. A growing bond. As they settled in, Laura explained that the pursuer was likely a bounty hunter from her planet, skilled at tracking and relentless in their pursuit. Her people, the Valoran, were known for their technological prowess, which made evading capture all the more difficult. Mike set up perimeter alarms and traps, not just relying on his military training, but also on the survival skills he had honed over years in the Alaskan wilderness. Laura, meanwhile, constructed a rudimentary communication device from parts she salvaged from her ship's wreckage that she had insisted on bringing along. Her plan was to send a distress signal to any Valoran ships that might be in the vicinity of Earth, hoping her allies were out there searching for her. Allies and adversaries, seeking help. The days following their narrow escape were filled with restless vigilance. Mike and Laura had managed to avoid detection, but the threat loomed like a shadow over their fragile sanctuary. As they prepared for what might come next, Mike knew they needed help, more resources and allies. Determined to broaden their defensive capabilities, Mike contacted some old acquaintances from his Air Force days, people who had left the service under mysterious circumstances and were rumored to have encountered non-human technology. If anyone would understand and believe their situation, it would be them. Reinforcements arrive. Within a few days, two of his former comrades, Jack and Sophia, arrived at the cabin. Initially skeptical, their doubts vanished when they met Ulra and heard her story. They were fascinated by her technology and sympathetic to her plight. Both had experienced encounters with unexplained aerial phenomena during their service and had been part of a covert group investigating such incidents. Enhancing defenses, Sophia, who had a background in communications technology, immediately set to work with Ora on enhancing the alien communication device. Jack, meanwhile, began planning defensive strategies, setting up more sophisticated perimeter alarms and camouflaging their location from aerial and ground surveillance. Their combined efforts paid off one evening when Lyra's communication device, upgraded with components Sophia sourced, picked up a faint signal. It was a coded message from a Valoran scout ship hidden in Earth's orbit, searching for any sign of Lyra. The message was clear. Help was close, but so was danger. A new plan. The group decided to move to a new location to send a strong signal back to the scout ship. They chose a remote mountain area known for its minimal electromagnetic interference. The journey was risky, as they needed to transport Lyra's delicate equipment safely while avoiding detection by the bounty hunter who was still relentlessly pursuing her. Strengthening bonds. As they traveled to the new site, Mike and Lyra discussed her home planet, her people's culture, and their technological advancements. Lyra shared stories of Valoria's vast cities and the bioluminescent forests that covered its surface. Mike, in turn, shared his own stories of Earth, its diverse cultures, and the natural beauty he'd experienced. Their exchange deepened their bond, bridging the gap between their worlds. Establishing communication. Upon reaching the mountain site, the team worked tirelessly to set up the communication relay. Jack and Sophia patrolled the area while Mike and Lyra focused on aligning the device with the coordinates provided by the Valoran scout ship. After several tense hours, the device lit up, and a stable connection was established. Lyra's message was sent, a call for extraction and a report of the political turmoil on Valoria. Now all they could do was wait for a response, hoping that their signal had reached the right ears and that help would come soon. The final stand. A growing threat. The mountain hideout provided temporary solace, but the group knew their safety was precarious. They spent their days enhancing the site's defenses and preparing for the possibility of an encounter with the bounty hunter. Lyra's distress signal had been sent, but the response from her people remained agonizingly elusive. The bounty hunter's trail. One morning, as Mike surveyed the area, he noticed an anomaly on one of the monitors, unexpected movement patterns that suggested they were no longer alone in the wilderness. Someone, or something, was methodically searching the area. The bounty hunter had picked up their trail again. Devising a plan. Quickly gathering the group, Mike outlined a plan. They needed to outsmart the bounty hunter using decoys and misinformation. Jack and Sophia set about creating false trails leading away from their hideout, while Mike and Lyra worked on a more technological approach. Using parts from the communication device, they assembled a series of small, drone-like gadgets capable of emitting signals that mimicked Lyra's unique biosignature. They deployed these drones in various directions, hoping to confuse any sensors the bounty hunter might be using, strengthening their bond. Meanwhile, Lyra felt a surge of determination. Despite her longing for her home, she had grown to admire Earth's rugged landscapes and the resilience of its people, qualities she saw reflected in Mike. Together, they fortified their bond, turning their shared struggle into a profound alliance. A close call. As night fell, the group monitored their traps. Hours passed with no sign of the bounty hunter, but they remained vigilant, rotating watch duties. Suddenly, just before dawn, One of the monitors displayed a brief but intense scuffle. One of the decoys had been intercepted. Using the surveillance feed, they tracked the bounty hunter's movements. He was alone, which gave them a slight advantage. The final confrontation. Mike devised a risky plan to lure the bounty hunter into a trap. With Jack and Sophia providing cover, Mike and Laura set up a perimeter around the area where the decoy had been intercepted. As the bounty hunter approached, Mike and Laura sprung their trap, using the drones to disorient and confuse him. In the ensuing chaos, they managed to subdue the bounty hunter and secure him, ensuring that their location remained hidden. Rescue and return. A glimmer of hope. With the bounty hunter neutralized, the group could focus on the next step, waiting for Laura's people to respond. Days turned into a week, and just as their hope began to wane, a message came through on the communication device. A Valoran rescue ship was on its way. Preparing for departure. The group made preparations for Laura's departure. Mike felt a mix of emotions, relief that Laura would be safe, but also a sense of loss at the impending goodbye. Laura, too, felt the weight of the moment, grateful for the friends she had made but anxious to return to her people. The rescue. On a clear night, the Valoran ship arrived, descending quietly into the clearing. Laura's joy was palpable as she reunited with her people. The Valoran crew, impressed by the group's efforts to protect Laura, offered their gratitude and assistance in ensuring their safety. Saying goodbye. As Laura prepared to leave, she turned to Mike, her eyes filled with gratitude and affection. She spoke a few words in her language, then placed a small, glowing crystal in his hand, a token of thanks and a symbol of their bond. Mike nodded, understanding the depth of her gesture. A new beginning. With a final wave, Laura boarded the ship, and it ascended into the sky, disappearing into the stars. Mike, Jack, and Sophia watched until the light faded, knowing their lives had been forever changed by the extraordinary events they had experienced. Reflections. Returning to normalcy. Life gradually returned to a semblance of normalcy for Mike, Jack, and Sophia. They dismantled the remaining equipment and returned to their routines, each carrying the memories of their adventure with them. A lasting impact. Mike often found himself looking at the night sky, the crystal ray had given him resting on his desk. He knew he would never forget the alien girl who had come into his life and the bond they had formed. A new mission. Inspired by their experience, Mike, Jack, and Sophia decided to use their knowledge to help others who might find themselves in similar situations. They formed a covert group dedicated to investigating unexplained phenomena and assisting those in need, knowing that the universe was vast and full of mysteries. A message of hope. In the end, their story was one of resilience, courage, and the enduring power of connection across the stars. Mike had saved Laura, and in doing so, discovered a strength within himself that he never knew existed. Their bond, forged in the cold Alaskan wilderness, would forever be a testament to the extraordinary potential of humanity.